All right, guys, good morning. Happy Friday. We've made it to the first Friday of the month here of February. Beautiful outside, just cold for sure. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to SnowTALK on this third day here of February, the day after Phil's day that he had yesterday. And I'm not sure what the third is, but we'll just say a day after Phil. Looking pretty good out there right now. Just cold weather. That's one of the headlines in the short term, but it's about to really flip on the narrative side as we head into the weekend. We'll talk more about that. And obviously, I've got an update to what we were discussing yesterday about next week and even the longer term, some changes there that I'm starting to notice. As always, you guys can comment on Facebook and on Twitter as well. And even in some of your comments, if you're on YouTube, and some of you are, will also show up. So make sure to take advantage of that. Obviously, if you're on the streaming app right now or on Roku or Fire Stick, you can't see the comments when they fly up. So I apologize. I try to reference them when they fly in, but I apologize in advance. Hopefully soon, we will have that capability. Hello, Angela. Hope you're doing well. Let's see what you got. A little bit on the cold side. Yeah, a little bit on the cold side. Just a little bit. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that, Angela, because that's where we're going to start things off as we into this weekend. Was just a very cold setup. Yesterday, I was, I showed the snowboard, and I felt like a lot of you were a little sad. Those snow lovers were a little sad. I got some good news. Today, I do have an item back on the snowboard. It's around February 12th or 10th through the 12th. I will explain why that's the case and the significance of that time period coming up here in just a few minutes. So it gives you an idea of how we are still looking at a warmer pattern developing. But, even with a warmer pattern, you can still get some interesting setups. And I do think it's the case coming our way. All right, here is a beautiful shot from Huber's Orchard and Winery. Just a cold Friday, but a few clouds in the distance there, but a lot of blue sky, a lot more sun than we've had the past couple of days. We'll take it. Here are the latest current temperatures as of this recording live right now, obviously. 23 here into Louisville, 17 North Vernon, 15 coming into Lawrence County and Bedford. Now, I believe 17 was the coldest I was able to find into Kentucky in Shelby County. If you have a home thermometer, let me know. Type it in the chat if you got colder than that, certainly earlier this morning. And here's the thing. A lot of you will likely get colder tonight. It's just the wind chill will not be as brutal tonight, tomorrow morning, as what we've had so far for this morning. In fact, here are the latest wind chill numbers coming in. Feels like 11 right now into Louisville, 2 in Seymour. I know you're looking at Bedford and Salem, like, oh, come on, we got to have a wind chill. And you do. Not every sensor that we have on this map has that functionality to show wind chill. And so that's the reason why there's only a few. And that's the reason why we just show the map anyway, but to give you an idea why sometimes those numbers don't always match up. But yes, everyone's got a wind chill that's at least, I would say, 10 or lower in Indiana and lower teens across Kentucky. Cold, but we're going to warm things up rapidly today. A decent amount. Well, I should say tomorrow, not today. Today is actually going to stay cold. I apologize. Today is going to stay cold. I don't think we're going to hit freezing actually today. But it may feel like we're going to get warm because of all the sun. You can see the satellite as the sun's coming up. You can see the clear sky. Now, notice in the east, the little striations and the snow marks there in eastern Kentucky. That is actually the moisture coming off the lakes. This very cold Arctic air. Any snow flurry action is staying well to our east. We may see some increase in clouds between here and, say, Cincinnati. So the I-74 or I-71 corridor. I need to go back to bed. All kinds of numbers are making up in my head here. All right, apologize. But you can see it, a few flurries in eastern Kentucky. If you're heading there, not a big ordeal. Finally, we had a chance to get the Southern Wave machine train, whatever that has been, in the deep south with all the ice. We've got that out of the way. And Texas still dealing, though, with the aftermath of that, certainly with the power outages. Seen some people that are now going on, I believe it's 30-something hours without power and still ongoing. So they're dealing with a mess in that area of Texas. But for much of the country, it's quieting down for the next couple of days. The big story really in the lower 48 is indeed temperature, where we've got the extremes starting to show up a little more. Florida, as I mentioned before, Florida has been the winner for the entire weather pattern, mid-80s for you guys. But look at the cold air sitting there. That is the polar vortex, the core of the cold right there into Canada. 33 below zero, 35 below zero in the central portions of Canada. Ouch. And here's the thing. It is on the move, but not necessarily directly to us. It's going to just graze our area heading to the northeast. If you have friends or family into Boston, New York City, you're going to be hearing from them because they don't have much in the way of any snow on the ground, and yet they got to deal with this. If you look carefully, and you have to look carefully into those blue circles, those are the feels like temperatures of the wind chills. And you can see into Montreal, which I got a chance to go there a few years ago, beautiful place. 40, I have to look too, 48 below zero for a wind chill. Even New York City at about 8 below. That's pretty cold, considering they don't have anything on the ground for snow. As I said before, that's miserable when you get Arctic cold like this and you don't have any snow to at least look at out the window. Not that you can really enjoy it, but still, it just makes it worse when it's nothing but a dry ground outside. Right around 8 as you head into actual temperature in portions of Pennsylvania. Cold stuff. Now, for us, we are going to see a front move through this weekend, but it will come through to our north in a very dry fashion. What it will likely do is kick up the wind in a big way. Today, it's going to stay cold, as I mentioned, despite the sun. I don't think we're going to get to the freezing mark. Tonight, could be colder than what we've had this morning, but the wind chill not as brutal. Then we flip the narrative fast on Saturday. One of our bigger jumps in temperature that we have seen, I think, this year will take place on Saturday, starting off 18, 19 degrees, and then jumping between 45 and 50 for the afternoon. As I've said before, anytime you do that, something's got to give, right? And that will be the wind. It's going to get stronger as the day wears on and will continue into Sunday. And again, as the boundary moves by, it will just increase the clouds, but I don't see any precipitation out of this. The atmosphere just looks too dry. Temperatures actually will stay up more than likely Saturday night. We may try to drop to like 39 Saturday night, but I think that's it. The wind's going to be so strong, it will likely nudge the thermometer right back up again while you're asleep, setting the stage for a warm day on Sunday with highs into the 50s. But as I mentioned, the wind is going to be quite strong, so we will likely see it ramp up tomorrow afternoon, gusts 35 to 40. Then as we head into Saturday night, overnight, 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts are reachable, if not a bit higher in some areas. So it's going to be a windy overnight. If you got those wind chimes, near your bedroom window, you may want to move them if you don't want to be kept awake all night Saturday night, because that wind is going to be blowing. Even all on Sunday, it's going to be just quite windy. Although the afternoon may actually see the speeds ease back down just a bit compared to what the morning will be. But we've had a lot of winds the past few months, it seems like. So we're, as I've said before, we're getting to be pros at this. All right, so what's the deal for next week? I'm glad you asked. We are going to face a very interesting setup where a front is going to be moving in as we head into Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be a cold front stretched across the Great Lakes. Now, it will become more horizontal at some point on Tuesday, very close to I-64, I-70, somewhere in that zone. And that is important because the GFS especially, and you're looking at the Euro, the GFS especially wants to push that through the area, which would allow for a warm spell Monday, but then that front would settle down and cool us back down. What that would end up doing is the bigger storm that we've been talking about that should move in at some point Wednesday would also get pushed a little more south as it turns into Ohio Valley, which makes things a little more interesting. But I think that's a little too aggressive with this front. So far, everything I've looked at on the other models, other ensembles, everything keeps the front generally north of I-64. It will likely increase the wind again. We will get some showers more than likely out of that. But it should put the brakes on, which means the slow then will have a chance to cut into Missouri and Illinois. And the Euro's pretty steadfast in that idea. Now, the one change from yesterday that is good for those of you that are not fans of thunderstorms and certainly not fans of severe weather, which I think is most of you, this low is likely going to do what we call occluding, which means it's going to become a mature cyclone. We don't want those immature ones. We're going to have an immature one or a mature one that will likely cause the wind fields to ease just a bit Wednesday to Thursday. But because it occludes, the timing of when the actual front moving through is now iffy. It could be Wednesday night. It could be Thursday, 3 p.m. That, too, will make a difference if we get any thunderstorms or anything like that we need to worry about, because if it's an overnight event, we may not even get thunder. So that will be a deciding factor. So we're not confident enough to do an alert day on this system for next week based on the data trends in the last 24 hours, because there's just too much of a wiggle room there for an occluded low to push a boundary through here. So we're just going to have to give this through the weekend to kind of get that settled. It does look warm. I think 50s and 60s are on the table. It does look windy, but as far as any thunderstorm potential or anything like that, we're not to that point where we can definitively say. Given an occluded low, the way that is positioned, I would say at the moment it's going to be a zone like this that would have to worry about severe weather. The same spots just got hit by ice, basically, will be under that storm threat. That's an early guess of what the severe risk map may look like over the weekend as we get closer. We'll watch it, I promise you. All right, we got the weekend to relax, but next week is going to be active. Now, here's where things get a little more interesting. As this low moves by, there is, and it was showing up yesterday as a strong signal where there's one piece diving down out of Canada, and there's also a southern wave trying to move in out of the Texas Panhandle area or southern Texas and Louisiana. The northern feature keeps wanting to win out on the modeling, and it really wants to dig pretty far south. It is unusual to see that type of track, but there is pretty good argument for it. As it digs across the Ohio Valley and tries to become something for maybe the mid-Atlantic on the wintry side, it could perhaps throw a few surprises even into the Ohio Valley. And you see what happens toward next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend. We get that low really digging in. Now, again, there is an absence of Arctic air. So this is another setup where dynamic cooling is involved, and the low pressure has to make its own cold air. We went through this before, and last time we did fairly well, right? We didn't have the dynamic cooling and didn't have too many issues for the area because we weren't able to cool the air. That was the one where hardly anyone got any snow. It was mainly Indianapolis, if you remember that. Was it a week ago? Similar setup on the idea that it's going to have to be a strong low pressure and it's going to have to track right over us. Otherwise, it would be rain. But I do think it's an interesting setup that has been showing up for a couple of days. And today it's starting to get a little more support as it moves on by. One thing that's aiding in that also is the lovely EPS, the ensembles there from the Euro, the Matrix. Still noisy at that time period, but also showing other colors than gray, indicating maybe something to watch. The EPO, a teleconnection, to get all technical here, it is also trending again, back negative at that time frame. Again, below the black line. EPO is not the only teleconnection that can drive a weather pattern across the United States especially, but it has been a big one this year. So with it trending back to negative, I do think there is certainly an argument that we're going to see some type of dynamic low that we'll try to dig as we head into next week. And there's other teleconnections that are also trending in this direction as well. Speaking of the EPO, by the way, I just looked at the long term. I just updated today. And you see the dip that happens next week there around Valentine's Day, which I think is why the date of when I put the snow items on the snowboard, why I thought that was significant. What is it about Valentine's Day, or at least close to Valentine's Day? We always seem to have something, right? Some kind of wintry event, storm system, and it's been everything, ice, snow, whatever the case is. It just seems like around that period of February 10th through the 14th, we've had something in the area. So just going on that unscientific principle, I think is interesting. Anyway, it goes back up again positive, but look at that. March, it tries to go negative again. I've got a feeling March is going to be a very frustrating month for us, especially for those of us that want to just get into spring or are done with winter. I think winter is really going to try to fight back this year. I hope not, but that's the trend I'm seeing so far. All right, guys, I'm going to end it for now. I've talked and blabbed a lot here today. It's Friday. Get outside, enjoy the warm weather tomorrow, not today. Enjoy the warm weather. Just hang on tight. Again, it's going to be quite windy as we head into the next couple of days. So try to enjoy the warm spell. At least it'll be dry, 40s and 50s for this weekend. Take care, guys, and I will see you guys coming up on the flip side.